What's up, Pats fans? We're back. Pats Tailgate Party Podcast, officially the first podcast of 2023 offseason for the New England Patriots. And man, do we have a lot to talk about. It is Friday afternoon. We were going to do a pod yesterday. Some scheduling stuff happened, and then we're pretty glad we didn't, because over yesterday evening and overnight, we had a bunch of breaking news and different stuff that's happening. And so we got a punch list of stuff to talk about today. I'll kick us around the horn just really quickly. First, though, if you haven't gone there, he doesn't pay us or anything, but Greg Bedard is the best Patriots coverage you can find at bostonsportsjournal.com, bostonsportsjournal.com. You got to check it out. It's literally the best Patriots and Boston sports coverage out there. On there, I'm Pat Sox Celts Brews, and you can find us all four of us on there because we're all members. So makes you smarter with the Patriots coverage. So we'll kick it over. Andrew, how's the day going?
Yeah, it's good. Winter coats on BSJ. Been a little more active in the chat these days because we got a long off season ahead of us. So I figured I'd shake off the rust. But yeah, good to be with you guys. I'm excited to talk Patriots.
All right. Dad, how are you?
Good, guys. Coach Stradamus on BSJ. I have gotten onto the chat a little bit more than normal the last couple weeks, but it's fun, and this is fun. Glad to be back.
It's awesome. Mike Davis.
Mike and Stoneham, and I'm calling you out, Laura. We want to see you on this pod.
That's it. We want Laura on here. I'm gonna send her a note.
She's great. We need her. We need that voice of reason as well.
That's right. Exactly.
Laura from the old site. Throwback uniform.
That's it. I've been chatting a little bit more too. It's been more trolling though than anything. I've been trolling people.
Yeah, you're a troll. We get it.
That's right. Well, some people deserve, let me be clear, some people on there deserve to be trolled. So
look, but I got to start today by saying we give Coach Stradamus a hard time about his Bruce Arians lookalike. But Mike, you're going a little bit here with the Cliff Kingsbury today.
I got a little Kingsbury going on here.
Sharp cut. Hopefully you have the kind of mansion he lives in.
No.
I'll come visit you.
No, I definitely do not have the Cliff Kingsbury mansion. Tough life though for Cliff. I saw those tweets after he got fired. Everybody's like, "Oh, tough life." My guys, he still got fired. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money he has; it still sucks to get fired. All right, well, Patriots lose in Buffalo. Finish this. Hey, look at this guy! Look at this guy, Bill D, coming in here. Bill D, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Bill, we're right in the middle of recording, so we're just going to kick it to you. How's the day going? How'd you hit it today?
Not good.
Well, that's not good.
You know what they say?
Once you get your money's worth,
But
that's good.
I haven't played it since November.
That's the issue there,
So
Bill.
that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Plus, I've been thinking about Pats all day, so, you know.
Oh, well, you're never going to hit it well if you're thinking about that. You got to clear your mind out there. Got to clear your mind.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see you too. All right, Bill, we're talking about, we're in the middle of, just kicked off, just talking about Patriots lose in Buffalo, emotional game. I mean, I think we'll go quick into the game recap, and then we'll really just dive into the offseason with everything going on. I mean,
That's the important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Patriots lost. Let's see. Let me run down for everybody, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns against the number 1 paid special teams unit in the NFL. Nyheim Hines, by the way. I didn't say Devin Hester. 101 yards and 96 yards. Nyheim Hines returns both of them. Patriots stayed in the game. Offense looked different until they turned the ball over multiple times in the second half. Mac looked good early. And it was a 12-point game, 14-point difference with the kickoff returns. Probably one they could have won and been in the playoffs, but they didn't. What did I miss? Miss anything?
Oh, that's good.
Andrew, Mike.
Matt Patricia went to the restroom for the first half, and someone else called the plays.
Hold on.
A lot of play action.
I gotta chime in here. Just to say, I mean, my grandfather, the esteemed Jim Lakis, who is the head of our football family here, did teach me once that close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Right. But I gotta say, I was super close last week. Not only did I say 24-20, but I said the one thing that haunts me about this prediction is the special teams.
You sure did.
So you subtract 2 touchdowns from 35, you get 21. 23-21 is real close. And I would just point out they didn't get boat raced. It was a competitive game. They looked the best they looked all season.
Mhm.
The worst part of it was that they got me. Like I told Mike the other day, I was like watching, I was like, oh, they're going to win this game. And not only are they going to win this game, they actually could beat somebody. Like, look out, Bengals next Sunday.
Don't.
And then sure enough,
Andrew,
I watched it all just fall apart. I know, but I got sucked in, right?
Bills could have turned it on at any point in the second half when they wanted to. They could have gone over the top and thrown deep. They showed it to you. All they had to do was start throwing into the middle of the field and throwing deep. We had no corners that could cover. They could put 14 points up anytime they wanted to. They got what they needed for points. That's it, man. They were not winning that game. They were not covering that. The Patriots weren't covering that game. They weren't winning that game. That was fool's gold, my friend. And I think you're the voice of reason.
It was
not
fool's
that game.
gold. It was fool's gold. I give you that. But we gotta. I think Allen made 2 incredible plays and throws, which is he is to do. Patriots were in that game. They played well. Like that. I mean, the special teams is an abomination. The fact that we'll get to this in a minute, that there haven't been any changes on the special teams side of the house. But I guess they had a competent offense and they actually were able to execute a defensive game plan. You're not going to shut Josh Allen down. I mean, the throw he made to Stephon Diggs,
my gosh,
that is indefensible. I don't even care if they had him triple covered. He just made the kind of play Josh Allen makes.
Dad,
anyway,
when he made that throw, did you shotgun a beer? I mean, fire one back. I mean, that's just like
you just sit. I mean, it's he rolled to his left first of all, out of pressure, and threw that thing on a rope.
I mean, it was like 60 yards. Like it was.
I think Jones was in coverage, and he wasn't in bad. I mean, he was right on his hip. I mean, what do you do?
It's just gross. Like he threw it.
And Josh Allen was thrown from the opposite hash mark.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it was unreal.
It was amazing.
You can't defend that.
To be frank, the one he threw to the other kid who made a diving catch in the end zone was a great throw too.
You just can't defend it.
But at the same time, in fairness, though, and I think Andrew's kind of right on time with this. Take away 2 special teams touchdowns and see what happens. I'm not going to tell you the Patriots win. But don't kick the ball out of bounds on the third one. So you give it to him on the 40. So basically,
it's the best part.
3 special teams. Andrew, this will get you even worse.
It's the best
3
part.
special teams plays give you 21 points. 3 special teams plays.
Andrew, you just lean
on the 40.
Go ahead.
Put up some kind of defensive struggle for them.
Billy threw it over the top of them. They couldn't. He just said, "Okay, here we go." But what I'm saying is, I mean, don't let them get out to the 40 or into the end zone 3 times off special teams and see what happens. But
Duggar couldn't cover Knox. Nobody could cover Stephon Diggs. You know, when they needed it, they had go-to guys they could go to all day long if they wanted to. They played sloppy. Understandable, right? Given the week they had gone through. But if they were ever in doubt of actually losing that game, they would have pulled their heads together and they would have just they'd have boat raced them because they did. They're like, all right, we got enough points. Cool. Let's we got this under control.
The other thing I'll say is that on a positive note, I thought in the first half they ran the offense the way Mac Jones can run the offense.
Sure.
They ran 4 straight play action passes on the first drive. That was a beautiful drive for a touchdown. 4 straight play action passes.
Yeah, I mean they could have
twice on first down, which is when you run it.
They all, Dad. They also could have done it in the. I think it was in the second half when they were trying to come back, and Parker shows that he can go up and get a ball. Meyer shows he can go up and get a ball. But we put Aguilar on the boundary and toss it up to him, and he just
Aguilar. That's probably 7 points, right?
I mean, literally
turnover.
What do you? So you can't throw that to Aguilar, man. He is soft as Charmin, man. He's not going to go up and get the ball.
So let's go back to that. So Aguilar poops his pants when they throw him the ball.
Sure did.
The best part is you still call him Aguilar. He's going to
Aguilar. Aguilar.
I won't have to worry about it next year. But anyway.
No, you won't.
Let's hope
so they force a fumble. Now, mind you, they force a fumble at the 11-yard line and can't move the ball to score. That would have been 21-14 instead of 17-14. So when they gave up the ensuing touchdown, it's a tie game instead of being down 21-17.
Because Matty P had to call that stretch run play.
Oh, well, he came back
to do it. Got to be cute.
He took the headset over again.
I just want to commend Miles Bryant for the tackling on the kickoff return, the second kickoff return with Hines. I mean, Hines, man, it's like Derrick Henry out there, man. I mean, he just ran him over. He bounced off of him.
Can you get the circus? Can you get the circus music?
Of course, I can get music.
Can we start using that?
Of course, you want that? We should. Do you want that as like imaging, like background imaging when we're talking about past games? I mean, is that what you want?
To that, but I just want the.
Yeah, no, I mean,
whenever it's whenever we need to
sing that again.
I mean, we can, sure. I mean,
don't get lost on a Miles Bryant tackle. How about every time they threw a completion somewhere early in the game, it was to Diggs, I think, and Bryant was trying to cover Diggs.
Yeah, I mean,
the clown show music for.
No, we're just gonna. I mean, we can just let it play. I mean, I can just back it up. I mean, it's behind us. You can hear it. I mean, that's what it was. Is just everything they do well. Then they do. I mean, I couldn't believe that when they ran the second kickoff back. I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. Like literally, you're in the game and you have a chance, and you let up. The first one was cute. All right, like we got this stuff going on. It's an emotional thing. It's kind of a cool thing to see. Return it. The place was crazy. The second one, not so cute. Like literally just like you're just going to ruin the game this way after you're staying in this game with Buffalo. It's just what a disaster.
And look, let's talk about the fact that you could have brought your kicker back. The guy with the big leg who can't punt for damn this year, but at least he could kick it out of the back of the end zone. He was available to come off the injured list last week, but no, again, Belichick's trying to be cuter than everybody else. So he suspends him. And instead you got a 79-year-old kicker kicking kickoffs.
79.
I mean, how many high school kids can kick the ball at the back of the end zone? But their dad's kicking the damn ball to the end line.
Oh well.
Play the music, Mike.
Yeah, it's on there. It's there. You can hear it.
We can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it. Oh, it's playing. Oh, it's playing. It's there. You'll hear it.
But the dude should not be kicking kickoffs.
Did anybody think during the game when they were watching it that every time the Patriots scored that the Bills might run the kickoff back? I did. I'm saying, okay, here's another opportunity for them to run another one back.
No, I sure didn't. And you know why? Because I think it had been something like 25 years. After the first one, I thought, well, that was unfortunate. It had been like 25 years since the team, same player, had taken the ball to the house twice in one game. So no, I did not think the Bills were going to return another one for a touchdown. But I thought maybe we had gotten that out of our system.
They didn't cover it anyway. When he did return, when they didn't kick it, when he didn't run it all the way back, he was across the 30 to the 35 the whole time.
Oh, and by the way, 6 kickoff returns for touchdowns in the entire NFL this year. 50% of them given up by your New England Patriots.
And let's not forget, again, the kick that rolled out of bounds at like about 35-yard line wasn't even close. It wasn't like it rolled out at the 2. That's on God knows. Like, that was ridiculous.
So how are we feeling about the 2024 Patriots?
Can't get here soon enough.
By the way, you may not be able to hear it. You may not be able to hear it, but it's playing, which is why I'm just sitting here. I'm just listening to it. I'm listening to it alone.
I can hear the circus music.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Let it. I mean, it is.
A little bit.
I mean,
okay, so
yeah. I mean, how do we feel about the 2024 Patriots? I mean, look, that's
let's let Coach Jadamas go.
Go ahead, Dad.
Let me throw this out. I was thinking about this today. So if they get a new offensive coordinator, which they're apparently going to do, that's the third OC for Jones in 3 years.
Yeah.
Does that create another issue? I mean, it's probably going to have to be another new system. I mean,
you're changing a new system. You're changing the system for the kid again and giving him another coordinator. Yeah.
If you count the dumpster fire they had this year as a system, I don't think it was a system.
Yeah, but it set them back a long way.
No, but I think you got two things you're thinking about here when you make this hire. The first is an ideal hire would be out of the Patriots system. I mean, this is where like Bill O'Brien just makes too much sense. He's probably got a lot of leverage. I don't know what's going on, but they're probably playing some sort of leverage game. You want somebody who can come in and build it off of the platform that Mac would understand and that the offensive line would understand. If that doesn't happen, then I actually still think I'm with Mike Davis here. I think it was so bad this year and hit rock bottom this year that sure, there's continuity concerns, but I think at this point, based on the report we all saw yesterday, that Mac was reaching out to anybody who would listen for tips and offensive advice. Just a competent system where the pieces all fit together is going to probably have an even bigger, tailwind than it would be a detriment. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about 3 systems in 3 years because this year's so bad.
So bad. So
he probably was going to Zorba the medium to try to get, an intervention.
Zorba. Oh, wait a minute. Tell me more about that report, Andrew, because
That's not a good thing.
I didn't get a chance to read.
Yeah.
That.
So Chris Sims reported yesterday that he had it on good sources that one of the reasons Mac had a falling out with the offensive coaching staff and Belichick wouldn't give him a vote of confidence this week in his press conference is that Mac had been reaching out to outside sources, old coaches, other offensive minds around the country and league, asking for any advice or tips to help them strengthen their offensive performance.
Oh, no.
Josh McDaniels.
Oh, no.
That probably didn't go over real well in the head coach's office, I'm thinking.
Well, but I'm going to add one wrinkle here because I know I'm in the minority because, let's just let me offer 2 quick things. One, remember that when we talk about this team in this current state and this offense, everything is a sign of dysfunction. Right. So did Mac do the right thing, wrong thing? Nope. Just, this is not what a functional unit or team looks like.
There you go.
Remember that too.
True.
We don't know the specifics. I mean, maybe he went to Patricia, Judge, Belichick and said, guys, this isn't working. I'm actually really worried. I'm regressing. I need your help. And they didn't do anything. That's not right to go behind their back to find. But I'm not assuming that Mac was trying to be subversive. I don't think this was I'm going to go throw somebody under the bus. I think, we've talked about this. This guy had an incredible rookie year. He's coming back. He worked incredibly hard in the offseason. He's doing his best to become a professional athlete. He walks into this clown show. I mean, his career's on the line. Look at Zach Wilson. I mean, Zach Wilson may never be a starting quarterback in the NFL again. I don't know that I'm just not ready to be oh, Mac shouldn't have done that. I mean, there's a better way to do it, to be clear, but that thing's such a mess that what are you going to do if you're Mac Jones?
And Andrew, if he's reaching out to Sarkisian, who was his offensive coordinator at Alabama, or if he was reaching out to Josh McDaniels, who was his offensive coordinator last year and his quarterbacks coach, what would be wrong with that? Josh, help me. I don't understand. How do I do this inside the system?
Yeah,
I have no issue with it whatsoever.
I'd imagine he wasn't reaching out to McDaniels, and McDaniels wasn't helping just because of competitive balance.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I can't imagine you reaching out to another NFL team, especially in your same conference. But I would imagine Sarkisian, maybe even Bill O'Brien. Didn't Bill O'Brien coach him a little bit?
He trained Bill on the system before when he left.
Gotcha. Well, but they have a relationship.
Again, he could have been reaching out to Bill too.
He may have, and again, I know that Saban and Belichick are buddies, but he may have called Saban and said, "Hey, help me out, coach. I'm looking for some guidance." I mean, to Andrew's point, I think that's a great point. Was it the way to handle it? Probably not, but I don't see looking for support and encouragement. Put it that way. It's not a bad thing.
No, that's not bad.
Here's my always looking for a chance to stick it to the Patriots. Always.
Yeah. But here's my last thought on this point. And I'm a Mac guy till he proves me otherwise. And I actually thought he did some things this year that were still pretty good, even though it wasn't a great year. All you need to know about Mac Jones right now is he's got the locker room, particularly the veteran players on his side.
Yep.
He could have walked away in week 4 and 5 and avoided the whole Bears fiasco with a very legitimate high ankle sprain. Instead, he busted his hump to get back so he could play. And he showed up every single day and did the best he could with everything around him crumbling. If you think Mac Jones is the problem with this Patriots team and he hasn't shown you enough, like turn in your Pats fan card, like go root for somebody else. Because it's just every bit of evidence, whether he's going to be an all-time great or not, every bit of evidence is this is a guy who worked his hump off this year, exhibited leadership for the players in what was a messy season, and had multiple opportunities to just shut it down, not take the flack that came with this season, not take the bad stat line. And instead he kept showing up and working his tail off. So if anything, I read into that, to Mike Davis's point, as somebody who really was trying to figure this out and exhausting all options to try to put a better product on the field. I wish his coaches were doing the same thing. I'm not so sure Matt Patricia was reaching out to anybody asking for tips on how to make this thing work better.
The one thing we'll give credit to, and look, Matty Putrid deserves very little credit. Patricia and Judge, by all accounts, were in there 80 hours a week working their butts off to try to turn this thing around. You know, they had so little capabilities they came in with. They were trying to, squeeze a PhD worth of training into, 6 weeks of school. It don't happen, right? It just don't happen. You have 4 years to do your PhD for a reason. You can't do it in 6 weeks.
That's why I think from the beginning, I've been a big proponent of blaming Belichick for the whole thing. Like, I'm not telling you Patricia and Judge are good, but my goodness, man, part of being a leader, head coach, CEO, whatever it is understanding and assessing talent and putting it in the right position to shine, like to know what talent is and to make the talent work at what the talent's good at, and all people have different gifts and talents, like, and studies, to your point, Mike, and trying to fit a square peg in a. Yeah, go ahead.
You don't give somebody a popsicle stick when they need a paddle for the canoe.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Number one rule, look at any, whether any organizational structure or there's studies on it about what people need to be successful in jobs. And number one, usually on that list, is the correct tools to do the job. Like that's usually number one. If they don't have that, you can't do it.
Yeah. Anyway. The other day, late at night, I went down a Wikipedia wormhole because I was trying to figure out some of the most successful coaches in the NFL. Like what is their background? Like head coaches, a disproportionate number of special teams guys, which I think is interesting. But what I also think is fascinating, and I'll bring this full circle, is that a lot of head coaches in the NFL actually have coached both sides of the ball on NFL teams. Like Mike Tomlin coached receivers before he was a defensive coordinator and then became a head coach. I don't actually think Belichick's initial thesis that Patricia and Judge, who are smart guys who've been a head coach, could probably figure out I don't know that I fault him for that. I know that is the popular take in the world. What I think is the bigger dereliction of leadership is that they didn't adjust and reassess at any point in the season when the thing wasn't getting better and going off the rails. That's the thing you're concerned about as a Patriots fan, is what was Belichick doing? At week 5, it wasn't time to call in an offensive consultant. It wasn't time to sit down and say, okay, Matt, I've got you stretched too thin. I just need the offensive line to work. Whatever it was, Adam Gase, I'm sure Adam Gase is available. I don't know what he's doing. He could have come in as a special assistant. That, to me, is why yesterday's news is such a big deal, because I think without Kraft putting his foot down and saying, no, love you, Bill, but some things have to change, you'd have just gotten more of the
oh, we'll get to that. Trust me. We have a lot of Dad, go ahead. We have a lot of comments on that.
Well, go ahead, Bill D. Go ahead, Bill.
So I just want to walk it back a little bit. I'm in disagreement with if they bring in another offensive coordinator. Obviously, who it is determines this. But I don't think it's the third system, because everything I've heard and known about the Patriots and Belichick the last 20 years is they always run a Belichick system, right? There be something different calling the plays, but it's a Patriots system. It was developed by Belichick. He's always run that system. This year, because of, we don't know why, they changed the offensive line zone calls. They changed who's making the calls on it, how they're playing the calls. I think this year is the year that you toss out and say they won't do that again.
I don't disagree with you, Bill. This is a legit question. What system is that offensively?
Yeah, it's built off the Ron Earhart system in the
correct.
80s.
Perkins and
it's
Earhart.
all it's about I'm not an expert, but I think it's a numbers based system where you call a number that has a route, and then each route has a different level on the field that you go. And that's why for so long, even dating back to Bledsoe, because this came from Parcells, like the quarterback and the receivers have to be on the same page and read the defense properly, because their end of their route tree is determined by what defense they recognize when they're running their route.
That's right. We talked about that a little bit pre-show yesterday. We were talking about combo routes and how the Patriots receivers have to do that. We did that, which we'll do today when we walk through their free agent list and then some list of free agents that are out there, which is interesting, and the receivers they have and how that might be a struggle for certain guys on the field, but not for Mac, given the how smart he is on the field. Which I think is interesting. Andrew, I got to ask you before we move on from Mac and talk about Belichick, and I'm sure we'll bring it back up. I did have this on my topic list, and you brought up the Bears, so I'm going to ask you. So I've heard rumors, which I had to double take and double check, that the you made the joke a couple days ago. I tweeted it a little bit ago that said I'm going to be furious when the Patriots trade Mac Jones to the Raiders for two late round picks. Because you brought it up to me on Sunday. So let's go to the world where that happens. We're pissed off. You have that option, or you have the option that the Bears, from what I'm hearing, the Bears possibly may draft a quarterback and get rid of Justin Fields, which I think is just asinine. You take Justin Fields or you take Mac Jones if you had a choice right now?
Depends on which coordinator you get.
Mac.
Take Mac. Interesting.
Yeah, man. I am in the minority, and Lord knows when you get in the comments section of BSJ, you really learn how big of a minority you're in. I just, big mobile quarterbacks like Josh Allen are awesome. They're unicorns. Like there's 3 or 4 of them. I still say Mac Jones' ceiling is Drew Brees. They're about the same size. Matter of fact, Mac's a little bit bigger. They've got the same precision. Brees didn't have a rocket arm. If you can get the right coordinator and the right pieces and let him use his talents, which are defensive recognition, timing, like understanding what's playing out before, other people. Like, I think he can be a top tier quarterback in this league. He's not the problem. Right, and I love Fields. He's a great athlete, but I don't know that I've seen anything from Fields this year. He's great fantasy football. He's awesome at running, and he also is hurt. I don't want a running quarterback. I want the next iteration of Drew Brees.
I still say if depending on who you bring in for the system, a quarterback who can be a dual threat, because Fields can do it all, right? I mean, he can throw, he can make all the throws, he can move on his feet, he can make a first down. If you get the right coaching in for him, I mean, they started to make really good improvements with him in that first year, right? So the bottom line is, if you could make that right quarterback coach and that right system, I'd rather have him in that system. If you're going to put a system that's more based around traditional Patriots offense, then I'd rather have Mac Jones.
Yeah,
I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. I think I said this way back at the beginning of the season, that I think the Patriots needed to blow up the offense and go back to the power run game, play action pass game. Mac Jones can do that really well. And I still think that's one of the keys to the Patriots being able to move forward, which they would. And to Andrew's point, they didn't blow it up. They didn't change anything. Mac Jones is that guy. I mean, we watched them against the Bills. Every time they went, in all the times they ran play action pass, he was effective. He was able to find guys down the field. I think it's easier to run routes when you're running play action. I think they can win with Jones, but again, they have to put the right pieces around them and the right coach around them. And I think that's the key with him. Fields is a great athlete. No one's going to argue that. I don't know that he works in New England.
I'm just saying, you drop him into that Cam Newton offense they ran in 2020 with some better skill athletes, and you turn those guys loose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
that team would be really hard to stop.
I think there's a difference between a running first quarterback and a dual threat quarterback. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't want Josh. I love Matt. I'm with you. I'm in the minority with you. But if obviously this isn't an argument this isn't reality, but in a vacuum, you said, cool, you could have Mac Jones or you could have Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. There's not even a question. I'm taking those three guys and that's it. Matt can go somewhere else. But those guys aren't run first quarterbacks, but they can move. Like they can extend a play. They can do things. They can rush for 50 plus yards a game. And that's what makes them great. They're also super athletic and smart also, right? So
if Justin Fields became available, Baltimore Ravens would be all over him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, it's true, given that Lamar's a free agent.
Yep.
And he's not going to play this week.
I'll say this, and I don't disagree with your point, Mike, but those three guys you mentioned have weapons out the yin yang to make plays to.
I
mean, all the Kansas City receivers, the Buffalo guys. If you put those on the page, if you put those with Mac, I think he looks a whole lot better.
I could get. I'm with you on Cincinnati and Buffalo. I don't think Kansas City has. They have Travis Kelce, and that's about it. Like literally, they have Smith-Schuster's good. He's a free agent. We talked about he might be interesting in New England. He's the type of guy. He's kind of an upgraded Brandon LaFell. Which doesn't sound too appetizing. But literally, I think Mahomes is probably special enough to where he can have people. I mean, they got rid of Tyreek Hill and they're better. They have a better seed this year. Like they're possibly a better team. I think the difference in Kansas City and those places, specifically Kansas City and Cincinnati, and it moves us on to talking about Belichick, is they have spent money on their offensive line. Like Kansas City and Cincinnati have two of the best offensive lines in football.
I mean, look, here's what I tell you. I mean, I'm unapologetically in the Mac camp. I think as a fan, there's two things that get me excited. One, the conditions have to be right to maximize Mac Jones's strengths. But that was very true for Drew Brees. He wasn't as great with the Chargers as he was with the Saints. It's true for Peyton Manning. Look at Peyton Manning's first 3 years in the league with that offense and that offensive line. Guys who are fast processors and who work on timing and precision need the pieces around them to be right. Give him time with the right offensive line and the right coach. And I think you're going to be shocked. The other thing as a fan that's kind of fun is I'm along for that ride. That was part of what watching last Sunday was like, oh, when the offense is decent and Mac's out there balling, they can actually play with the Bills. Mike Davis, to your point, they were going to beat the Bills. Like Josh Allen's still going to make 3 plays a year, but he's still young. I wouldn't have thought the Colts in 2001 or 2002 were the next dynasty. They ended up not being that because Patriots. But I just think the future is bright. You just got to get the coaches right. Coaches right.
So
and the offensive
speaking of that.
And hang on, one more thing. Yeah. Drew Brees is not Drew Brees if they don't trade for that center who absolutely gels that New Orleans line and takes over those calls and frees Brees up to, you know what I mean? The most underrated part of that New Orleans run was the fact that, what's the guy's name? Max, whatever. The trade they made to get that center and solidify their offensive line was massive for Brees' career.
And was Jeff Saturday Peyton Manning's center?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. The guys, it's all about synchronicity. When you have a smart quarterback and a smart center and a smart offensive coordinator, you set your entire offense up to beat whatever the other team is doing. It's a very different approach than what the NFL likes right now, which is the improvising and the Allens and the Mahomes. By the way, I think Burrow is this type of quarterback. I think he's got a great setup with the Bengals. I don't think he's in
by the way, to Bill's point.
Camp.
Whoa,
Andrews
whoa. Hold on. No. Hold on.
To Bill's point, Andrews is no longer allowed to call changes to the offensive line during the course of this year, and Mac wasn't allowed to make audibles until the first half of the last game, right? So the thing that made the Patriots offensive line and the Patriots offense so dangerous was the ability to read the field and make changes, and they had taken that away from both Andrews and Mac right up until the first half of the last game. Sorry, go ahead. I just want to make that really clear.
No. I was just taken aback by
Bill hit that nail right on the head, and I want to give him credit for that.
I was taken aback by the comment that Joe Burrow's not in the Mahomes Allen camp.
No. Let me clarify. I like Burrow better than I like Mahomes and Allen, because what I'm trying to tell you is I want my quarterbacks to be smart. I want them to be confident, and I want them to be able to execute a system with ruthless proficiency. I will say it right now on January 13th, 2023, injuries aside, Joe Burrow will have more Super Bowl wins than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes combined by the time they retire. Like but Burrow's also not running around trying to extend plays and throwing it 60 yards in the air. Burrow is, before the snaps ever, Burrow's closest thing to Brady we've seen. Like that, I was just
going to say that.
Point blank.
Yep.
And he's got better tools probably than Brady had at this stage of his career, like his arm. Yeah. To be clear. Yeah. I love Burrow, but I don't think Burrow's one of these like super gifted athletes who's changing the way we see the game. I just think he's a damn good quarterback. And Matt can be a damn good quarterback.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, so let's move to the coaches. Who do you guys want to see as the offensive coordinator? You got your choice. You got who's out there. Look who's out there. Who you want?
Bill O'Brien's the easiest one. But if Bill O'Brien's not there, I'd love to see them go interview as many people as they can and go find your guy. Right. The one thing I'll say is if you look around NFL rosters, there's an awful lot of really interesting, talented guys who haven't had their shot yet. And I think there's a lot of minds out there that have 10, 15, 20 years who haven't had their shot yet, and they deserve a shot. And I would be interviewing them, and I'd see if you could grab the next Greg Roman. Bill O'Brien's great. He's a no-brainer, but if you can't get him, go see if you can find the next Greg Roman from somebody else's staff, whether they just got fired or they're out there.
It's interesting. I read today that there's a high-level source, I don't know exactly what that means, that says the Patriots are very interested in Bill O'Brien. I read that today. It came through on Bleacher Report or on Twitter or somebody. It was a legit source that said the Patriots are very high. He's very high in the Patriots list to go get Bill O'Brien.
So let me ask this: O'Brien is a no-brainer from the standpoint that he knows the building, he knows the room. Does that matter? I mean, because Belichick normally wants to stay, he loves to hire these, now whether it's him hiring or Kraft hiring, but they love to stay within the Patriot territory. I mean,
I'll tell you a guy I'd love to see.
Bill O'Brien comes back in and runs Belichick's offense all over again this coming year.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yep. And if that's okay, I mean,
my only detriment to O'Brien is he makes too much sense. Every time we look at Belichick to make a decision and we say this makes common sense, he goes the other way.
Well, I don't think he's going to this go round.
Got involved.
I don't think he's going to go this go round, Bill. I think Kraft stepped out. Yeah.
And I said this a while back when they fired him mid-season. Frank Reich to me would be a great hire for the Patriots.
Yep.
I mean, I don't hear his name coming anywhere.
Yep. And by the way, Sean Jefferson's another one who'd be a sleeper candidate.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I think I've been less too. Yeah, I've been less thinking about names. Though I do think Bill O'Brien, just to Bill's point, makes the most sense. And probably can get you there faster. You hire Bill O'Brien, you can go back to some of the stuff he did. I mean, I don't know if y'all read it. I sent you the article last night. I thought it was fascinating. Dan Wetzel, I think it was Dan Wetzel on Yahoo, talking about he wonders if Bill Belichick and Nick Saban still talk football because of the transformation Saban made in 2013, where he moved away. He essentially invited Lane Kiffin in for a week to say, I want you to watch all the film. I want you to see how we do things. And I want you to tell me all the things we should do differently. And then he hired Lane Kiffin. And he said that it was a big deal because Saban, like Belichick, used to keep everything in-house. He didn't want new ideas. He wanted yes men. And that it was fireworks with Kiffin and Saban, as you might imagine. But if you look, it made Alabama better. It put them on the path of the second part of their dynasty. And then he kept that hiring tradition when he went out and got Sarkisian, and then he went out and got Bill O'Brien. I think that's interesting because if Belichick is talking to Saban, I hope he is, then I think it'd be interesting, Mike Davis, to your point, to maybe it's a young guy, like it's a Zach Robinson from the Rams, because it sounds like McVay's letting his guys go interview. Maybe it's somebody we don't even know about who is up and coming, and to say, hey, all right, I want somebody who's going to shake it up a little bit. Now, I think, Dad, that gets to your question earlier about do you want a third brand new system or a brand new system with Mac? I'm compelled by that, though. The only other thing that gives me pause with O'Brien, and there's no way of us to know this, is like what's going on with the Mayo stuff. Like, is Mayo truly like the
new offensive coordinator? Just kidding.
No. They're not going to call him the successor because they don't do that. But I mean, I do wonder if part of what's happening right now is Belichick and Kraft in their conversation saying, look, I need a plan. Like, we love Mayo. We think he can be a great head coach. By the way, guys, and this is just a reminder for all of us, great head coaches or CEOs, if they're too involved in the game plan, you don't have a good outfit.
Yep,
like it is rare that you get an Andy Reid who is like, calling plays or being heavily involved. I mean, I think Mayo might be their successor now. And if that's the case, then I think it might behoove them to go find somebody who knows they may not be long for this. If it's Bill O'Brien, he's coming in for a year or two. If it's a young guy, he's coming up to be the CEO of the offensive side of the ball. But there's a lot of organizational dynamics here we just aren't privy to. And I care that Mike Davis, I care that they hire somebody that matches their organizational strategy more than I care who that person is.
So Bill O'Brien, the one thing you can say about Bill O'Brien is right now he's in Alabama and his family's in Houston because he has a child with special needs, right? So if you were going to bring him in here, regardless of what his role was going to be, and say, we're going to keep you here for the next 5 years, you're going to be able to be back here with your family, right? You don't have to be apart from your family. We're not guaranteeing you the job, but we're saying we're giving you a 5-year contract. This was actually Michael Hawley's point last night. We're locking you in for 5 years and we're putting some real money on the table. What they're saying to him is you're back with your family, you've got stability. And if the world comes to an end in 2 years and we end up handing the ball, handing the team over to somebody else, you have the financial stability not to care what happens for the next 5 years. You can stay in this house with your family and not have to worry about moving or anything because we're giving you the financial flexibility or stability to keep your family here until that kid is old enough to be 18 years old. And if that's the case, then he's putting his family first and he doesn't care about anything else. And when Mike Hawley said that made a lot of sense to me. And Bill O'Brien doesn't care if he's the successor, as long as they put enough years and enough dollars into the deal that he knows he's taken care of.
It's a fair point.
Mm-hmm. Mike Hawley's been around that team a long time. How many books did he write about Belichick and that team?
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I agree. I think I agree with all that. Go ahead, Dad.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, so they're going to hire a new OC. Great.
Oh, well, quarterback's coach.
Does Judge and Patricia, are they okay staying in the building? Not to them, because they probably would be okay with it. To the other guys coming in.
That depends on how much power you're giving this quarterback.
Correct.
That's something they got to look at.
Yep. That depends what position they're coaching and how much power they have.
Look, Cam McCord needs to go from the role he's in. If Joe Judge is running special teams again, they won Super Bowls with Joe Judge running special teams. I don't think anybody cares about that. And if Matt Patricia slips into that Ernie Adams role, that's a piece that they have sorely lacked. Now, do I think he's Matt Patricia? Heck no. But if he's 80%, and if Matt Patricia's 80% of Ernie Adams, and he gives somebody in that seat that they've sorely lacked, then I'm okay with that.
I just want to throw it out there because, I don't know. I don't know in the NFL how that works.
First of all, I hope to back to Cam Acord real quick. Let's just set an example here. Cam, we'll give you, here's your severance and enjoy it. We gotta put a presser out. You gotta go, man. It just is what it is. You gotta beat the guy down, but it's something, there's, Mike, you said it yesterday, part of building a culture of an organization, when you do it the right way and you have expectations set up front, if those expectations aren't met, and there has to be accountability for that. And part of that is people moving to a different, either getting demoted or parting in ways with an organization. I'm shocked that hasn't come out yet, that he's not with the organization anymore, that he's been demoted, just because that sends a bit of a message throughout the whole organization, which is kind of shocking that he's still there. The Patricia, that's an interesting question on the Patricia Judge piece, right? I feel like, yesterday, and I want to touch on this too, it was interesting to me. And I think I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter. I know you guys are fired up about it, right? We saw after another 15 minutes of hemming and hawing on Belichick on his pre-meeting with Kraft news conference. We come back and we get something we have never seen since he's been the coach here, which is a press release on what they're actually doing in the coaching process, what they're actually doing with Mayo, which was shocking and beautiful at the same time. And Bedard said it in his article. He thought people were going to go on vacation this week. They're not going on vacation this week. Kraft reminded everyone, if you will, that I still own the team. I still sign the paychecks.
I write the check. That's right.
We're gonna do it the way that I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna step into it a little bit more, which has got to be a very humbling and interesting place for Bill Belichick to be. One that I didn't ever think we'd get to.
This doesn't mean that Mayo. They may be looking to negotiate a deal with Mayo, but it doesn't mean he's not interviewing next week with Carolina. And if Carolina offers him a head coaching job, he still might be gone. And you might still have a gigantic hole to fill.
Oh, so I'm not talking about Mayo specifically. I'm talking about the difference. There's no difference
doubt. We've never seen this in 23 years of Bill Belichick's reign.
Correct. The difference in how it was all handled and what I hope to see moving forward. Dad, you said it yesterday, and I'll bring it back up. You said when we were talking, you're getting tired of the old hem and haw and don't say anything and burp and fart and do everything on the news conferences instead of talking to people. And I said, yeah, Belichick's run the team for 20 however many years. Like there are no fans. Like he doesn't give a crap that there are fans, which works when you're successful. When you are not successful, Bob Kraft steps in and says, oh no, we have fans and they make us money. And without them, we don't have a team, Bill. So now it's time to change the way we operate. And we're going to be inclusive of the fans. And it worked when it worked because we were successful and we were in Super Bowls, which fans are perfectly fine with. But when you start to crap the sheets 3 years in a row, now we got to include the fans and we got to bring them into what we're doing. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot of money, which is exactly what he's done. You said it for years, Mike, which is his job as an owner, is to make money for the organization. And I found that very interesting and frankly relieving yesterday when I saw that this had come out. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that. That's why
this merch was 75% off, my friend.
There you go. That was my take on it, was like, yeah, Bill, you can't run the damn team anymore. Like we don't exist. Without us, you don't have a team. You're just playing in an empty stadium and nobody cares. Like
I think that started with the letter to the season ticket holders a couple of days ago. I think that was kind of the precursor to what was coming.
Exactly.
And they're not done yet. And it's the Crafts, right? You notice there were 2 signatures on that. It was Jonathan and it was Robert. They co-signed that.
Yeah. Andrew, Bill, thoughts on that?
Andrew's thinking hard down there.
I know. That's why. Yeah. That was my take on it. I was fired up. Just the act is getting old, man. I'm good with the act when you're winning Super Bowl.
Guys, how many years did just Robert sign those kinds of things? It was very deliberate that both Jonathan and Robert signed that, guys.
I did not notice that. There were 2 signatures on it. That's a good pickup. Yeah. It's time for a change.
Well, Bill Andrews said it a long time ago. The old Patriot way is dead, right? Mm-hmm. So let's move forward. And I sent you guys that piece from Christopher Gasper on the system and how flawed it is now. So this is where it's got to. Okay, so the old Patriot way is dead. What's the new Patriot way going to be? And like Andrew said, there's got to be a plan. I need a plan.
I think the easiest way to think about this, the seductive way to think about this is like, oh, it's a power struggle between Bill and Kraft. And Kraft came in and said, what maybe gives me the most hope is that this is how a healthy organization would work. I think Belichick still wants to win. I don't think anybody's questioning that, whether it's for the record or he just wants to, have not to go out this way. I think Kraft is a billionaire businessman because he's been a visionary and he knows how to read moments and figure it out. And I think the thing that brought this home for me last night was reading the interview Vince Wilfork gave. I love Big Vince, and I'm sure most BSJ commenters are going to love what Vince said. And I thought, oh, poor Vince, you're showing your generation and you're out of touch here. I mean, he just went on a tirade about how these young guys don't respect the coaches anymore, and they all want to rap and have brands. They don't want to just do their job and play football. And I thought, guys, that milk ain't going back in the jug. This is a different generation of player, and there's a reason the Patriot way is dead. And, you know, some of that is bad decisions, poor execution. Some of that is like the days of like, do your job, shut up, do your job. You know, you've been late to a practice, Randy and Adelius, go home. Like, it doesn't work with this generation.
No, it's a different era, for sure.
And let's jump to Jack Jones.
Yeah, and I think Kraft is savvy. I think Kraft is a savvy businessman, and probably with Jonathan Kraft's input as the next generation, understands that you got to be able to read the weather. Like, you're not worried about, is my organization prospering today? Your job is to think 5, 10, 15 years out and say, is this sustainable? Like, have we actually read the moment and built an organization that will continue to grow over time? And I you know, and I hope that Bill Belichick was amenable to that, like, and not taking it as somebody stepping on his toes. I mean, I think it's like, that's the kind of conversation you'd hope a chief executive and your chief lieutenant have. Like, well, where are we and where are we going?
I said yesterday, and I think to the point, I think Belichick went into that meeting wanting Kraft to step in or give him some guidance, you know,
so he could make changes and not have to go back to his guys and say, I did that.
But like Andrew said, you know, help me out here, guys. I mean, we need to go in the right direction. So with your help, we're going to go in the right direction, right? And their help was saying, okay, here's what's going to happen, Bill. Some changes are going to come, right? So I think Belichick was amenable to it. I would hope. I mean, I think.
I don't know.
Let's build off. Yeah, so let's build off real quick off of what Vince said, right? So Ted Johnson also weighed in and said he could never imagine a rookie doing what Jack Jones did, right? But Ted Johnson said, you know, if in the time when Willie McGinnis was there or Vince Wilfork was there, if a rookie started popping off to Belichick the way Jack Jones did, he's like, one of those guys would have grabbed that guy. The first words out of his mouth said, I'm sorry, coach, dragged that guy into the back room and explained that you don't do that here at the Patriots. That's the Patriot way, right? And the fact that there was nobody to grab that kid and drag him in the back room, or early on in the early 2000s, Belichick would have just fired the kid because he had enough depth in he would have said, go pack your shit and go home. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what he would have said.
Mac Jones mouthing off during the game. But when did you ever see that happen?
Yeah, but I think
there were multiple times Brady was pissed at Belichick.
I think,
but just went and sat down.
Well, I don't know. Brady ripped Bill O'Brien on the sidelines one time. Like, I mean, I think
not Belichick.
Not Belichick, though.
No, but I think that's what Andrew's talking about. So back to Andrew's point too. It's not just Robert and Jonathan Kraft. They're billionaires. They have a team of people that study generational trends and study adult learning styles and study all different types of things. And they have those people that consult with them, and here's the difference. Smart business savvy leaders and business people listen to those people. Ones that aren't smart don't. And so that's also that it's not just them sitting in a think tank, you know, looking at generational stuff. They have somebody telling them that, and that's part of being in an organization, right? The other piece to it though is what Andrew's saying is I don't this is just I don't know this for a fact, but a guy like Jack Jones, if he's on the team, he's not the same guy that's on the team when Willie McGinnis is on the team. And frankly, Willie McGinnis might grab Jack Jones and do something. And then the next problem is now Jack Jones is going to HR about it. Like literally, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a different guy. You're not going to grab me and do anything to me because now I'm going to go to somebody and it's going to come out in the public that you assaulted me in the locker room. It's a different world with Twitter and with all everyday types of things that come out. You can't do that same stuff. You have to set a culture a different way. and it can't be the old way. The old Patriot way is dead because it's outdated. That's right. Kind of the point.
That's right.
That's the thing. It's for us. It's nostalgia. We love it. We saw the Super Bowls. It doesn't work anymore. Like it's literally got to go away from it.
So I know you got a hard stop time, Mike. But I want to just throw this one story out there real quick. So I have a buddy who was coaching at Wake Forest a while back, and they were playing BC when Al Skinner was the coach at BC, and they had Tyree, whatever the point guard's name was. He was so good up there. But he was terrible in practice. He goofed around, he danced, he did all these things. And the assistants went to Skinner and they said, "Can you get this kid to practice hard? I mean, it's ridiculous in practice." He said, "Let me ask you guys something. You want him to play hard game night, or do you want him to practice hard? Because it ain't going to happen both times. And I'm okay with him playing like hell during the game."
Allen Iverson.
So I mean,
I think it's
a different generation.
Last thought on this point. I mean, I think it's a middle ground, right? I think any good leader, any good organizational leader, coach, head coach, you got to have some expectations and you got to have a culture and a way of doing things. Sure. But it is outdated. And I think there is a generational shift that's happened. And so I think that's a bigger challenge than any one person could solve. I mean, that maybe is what gives me the most hope here, is that if Kraft and Belichick and whoever else is on that staff are working together to say, "Hey guys, this is rotten at the core. Like, we don't need to lose who we are. We don't need to have scapegoats. We need to actually hunker down and figure this out and make some real changes." Like, then I have hope. Like, I have hope where they can get to if they're working together on that front.
I think they are. I mean, I would think so.
So
Mike Davis, final thoughts.
Let's get together next week. Let's talk about where we want to see this roster go. And let's talk about exactly what we hope we'll see for, this coaching staff when we get together next week. And, really excited to do this with you guys. And thank you so much for always being so thoughtful.
Man, that is it. That was good stuff today. Yeah. And that's what we'll do. We'll talk about some free agents, some other stuff next week.
Let's see if we have an offensive coordinator with him.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about that too. All right.
I sent you guys a picture of who the new offensive line coach needs to be.
That's right. Doug Lakers.
Right. You're talking about going back old generational, Andrew. I know how that.
Yeah. You're going to need a good consultant.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Guys, thank you.
Take care.